a go at making a cheesecake today. Now the good thing about this recipe is there's no baking involved. It's so simple. Now all we're going to do is to get some digestive biscuits and mix it with some butter, and that's going to be the sort of, you know, the nice biscuity base. Then we're going to make up the really nice cheesy mixture. And for making that, we're just going to use some double cream, soft cheese, vanilla pods, ice and sugar. Mix them all together, and then you've got that really nice sort of cheesy mixture sitting on top of the biscuit base. Once that's all cooled down and, you know, you've left it in the fridge, then we can dress it up with some nice blackberries, or you could use strawberries or blueberries. And there you go, you've got a lovely cheesecake, no cooking, and it's delicious. So to make up this cheesecake, what I'm going to do is quickly go through the ingredients. Now the first thing is we've got to make the biscuit base. Now I've got half a pack of digestive biscuits, so I've got 250 grams of digestive biscuits. Now what you can do is you can either put those in a plastic bag and sort of hit them with your sort of rolling pin and break them up into like crumbs, or what I'm going to do is put them in the blender, just give them a quick bzz, and you know, they'll be ready. 100 grams of butter. Now with the butter, I'm actually going to put that in a bowl, put it in the microwave, and once it's sort of melted, then we can pour all the biscuit mixture in there and, you know, just sort of get everything blended. Pour that into the actual sort of baking tray, the baking tin, and that is going to be your sort of base, nice biscuit base. Then we've got the sort of nice cheesy mixture. Now to make that, I've got 600 grams of soft cheese. Then I'm going to use 100 grams of icing sugar, 1 pot of double cream, extra thick double cream I'm using. Now 1 pot there is 300 ml, so I'm going to use all of that. 1 vanilla pod. Now vanilla pods are quite expensive, but they give a lovely intense sort of vanilla flavour. I'm going to use 1 pod, you slice it down the middle and then you scoop out the inside, just mix that up and it will be delicious. Now if you haven't got vanilla pods, because they're quite expensive, you can use vanilla essence. I'd say about 1 teaspoon of that. Now once you've got the biscuit base and then you put the cheesy mixture on, you need to put it in the fridge and let it set. Once it's set, then we can put the fruit on top. Now I've chosen to use blackberries, but you could use red berries, you could use strawberries, you know, blueberries, it's entirely up to you. Now I'm going to use most of those just to sort of make it look really pretty, but I'm going to keep some back. I'm going to blend them up with a little bit of water, a little bit of ice and sugar, and that will make a nice syrup, and we can just finally pour that over the top. So there's all the ingredients. So now what I'm going to do is get myself a bowl, put 100 grams of butter, pop it in the microwave, and then I'm going to make the biscuits into a nice sort of crumbly mix and put the two together, pour it in the baking tray, and that will be a really nice base for this cheesecake. So I've got my block of butter. Now the whole block weighs 250 grams, so I'm going to use just under that. I'm going to use 100 grams. So get the middle, move it across, and then we'll just chop that down. So I'm going to use a slightly smaller bit and just put that in the bowl and then put it in the microwave, not very long, just until it's started to melt really, and that's it. So let's put it in the microwave and melt the butter. So I've got the butter. Now I actually put mine in for about 30 seconds, so don't go overboard. Now the next thing I'm going to do, I'm actually going to blend up my digestive biscuits just to make them into like crumbs really, sort of chunky crumbs. But you know, if you haven't got a blender, don't worry, just put it in a plastic bag and get your rolling pin and just give it a whack so that you've broken up all the biscuits, you know, fairly fine. So I'm going to just break my biscuits and put them in there, and I'm going to blend them. I'm going to break those up really. Put them in there like that. I mean, if you wanted to, you haven't got to use just digestives. If you fancy something a bit different, you know, you could put ginger snaps, entirely up to you what sort of biscuits you want to use really. But I find digestives are quite nice, they're nice crumbly biscuits. So I do it in 2 batches because I won't get them all in there, and I'm just going to give that a quick blip. So let's just put that under that. That'll do. Now I'm going to tip those into the bowl, so it doesn't matter if there's a few chunky bits. And again, do the same with the other half of the packet. So again, just pop that on top. those all in the bowl. Give them a good sort of mix around. So let's just give those a mix, get them all nicely coated. If you see the odd big bit, just break it up, doesn't matter. There we are, that's done. Now I'm going to get me little baking sort of tin now, and we're just going to pour that mixture into the baking tin. Now I've got my baking tin. If you go out and buy one, these are really useful because the bottom comes out and it just means that it's really easy to get your cake out later on. So I'm just going to push that in there. Now I'm going to get a little bit of butter and I'm just going to go round, just around the bottom, and try and get right round to the edges first of all, because we don't want anything sticking. Now I'll just show you that. Try and go right around the edges there. And then I'm going to get some parchment paper, like baking paper, and I'm just going to, see that? I've cut it out the same shape as the inside. And then it doesn't hurt, just to get a little bit more butter. Just to doubly make sure nothing's going to stick. So there we go, that's ready to go. Now what we need to do is to put the sort of biscuity mixture in the bottom there. So I'm just going to get the mixture. Pour that in, and then with the back end of the spoon we can flatten it all out. So easy to do this recipe. Now I'm just going to squash this down, try and get it even if you can. That's it, just give it the final squash all the way around. And that's going to be a lovely biscuit base. You can't go wrong with digestives and butter. Look at that, no messing. There we are. Now what we need to do is to make the butter set again. The best way of doing that is just put it in the fridge. Now that's a bit of a bore, but you want to leave it in there, I'd say probably about an hour. Maybe a little bit less, depending how cold your fridge is. Once it's set, then you know we can pour this sort of cheesy mixture on there. So what I'm going to do is, whilst that's in the fridge, we're going to get on with that cheesy mixture. So I'm going to put that in the fridge now. Looks good. Now I've got a little chopping board there, because what I'm going to do is open up this vanilla pod. So starting at one end, just sort of cut all the way down to the other end, being careful of course with the knife. And then what you can do is just open it up. It's a little bit fiddly. Now I've just opened mine up. You can see all inside you've got all those, I'll just try and bring it a little bit closer, all those sort of black bits of vanilla, and this smells beautiful. Then I'm going to use the back end of a knife. I'm really going to just try and scrape all of that out of there. All the way along. I'm going to get all this together. I'm going to put that in the bowl. We don't want to waste any because it is so nice. The smell is just beautiful. And it's quite strong flavoured, so you really don't need very much. That's it. I think I've pretty much got most of that out of there. Yeah. I just don't want to waste it because it's really quite expensive, this. So there we are. Only a little bit. I'm just going to put that in the bowl, and that is going to give it a beautiful vanilla flavour. So I'm just going to tip that in the bowl. There we are. Now it doesn't matter the order. I'm just going to use 100 grams of icing sugar. Then I've got the soft cheese. Now in total I'm using 600 grams of that. So I'm actually going to use those 3 tubs. Really, just put that in there. And I'll do that with the other 2 tubs. Obviously if you can buy a big tub, a bit cheaper. Now I've got my double cream, extra thick. And this one is 300 ml. So I'm pretty much going to use all of that. I think I'll need the spoon for this one, it is thick. So again, I'll just put that all in. so nice. There we go. Now for mixing this up, I've got my little hand blender, so just going to put it on a slow speed, and I'm just going to let that blend it all up really until it's all nice and smooth. I mean, I guess you could do it by hand. That's how I used to do it. I think that'll do really. It's all blended, and you can see, I don't know if you can see all these little black bits in there. Those are the bits of, you know, the vanilla pod. You can see that everywhere, and they just give it that really lovely flavour. So I'll just tip that a little bit so you can see it. Look, you can see all the little black bits in there. It's all nice and smooth. That is delicious. Now I'm going to go and check on my biscuit base in about half an hour, because then we can just pour this all over the biscuit base. Now I've just checked on my biscuit base in the fridge, and it's ready to go really. Now, you know, it's pretty much hard. Now, I didn't quite need an hour. It needed about 40 minutes, 45 minutes. So I'm going to get on with mine. So I'm just going to grab the bowl and a big wooden spoon, and really we're just going to spoon this in. Just try and get it all out. Now just scrape that last little bit out the bowl, so I've got every single bit out. Now what I'm now going to do is just try and even this out, and at the same time squash it down, because what you want to do is also to try and get some of the air bubbles out. If there's any air in there, I'm going to try and get it out. So I'm just going to get it smooth like that. There we are. That didn't take long. This is going to be nice. Now, as I say, what I'm going to do with mine is to put this in the fridge, and I'm going to leave mine overnight just to really kind of set properly. And tomorrow we're going to come back, pull it out of the cake tin, and then we're going to put the fruit on and the syrup, and we're going to try it. And it's going to be delicious. So I'll see you tomorrow. So it's the next morning. Now we left the cheesecake in the fridge overnight. I actually left mine for about 12 hours. The reason we did that was to make sure all that sort of cheesy creamy mixture on top actually sets, because we want it to set. Now it's still a little bit cold. I'm just going to leave it for about 20-30 minutes just to bring the temperature up a little bit, and that should make it much easier to push out of the mould. So once we've got it out, then we can dress it up with that fruit and try some. So I've left my cheesecake for half an hour, so we pulled it out of the fridge, left it for half an hour just to warm up slightly, which hopefully is going to make it easier to get out the cake tin. So let's just lift this up a minute, and I'm going to just put a can there and rest that on top, and it will just help me to gently push it around. So there we go, it's starting to come now. Try and get it out evenly. It's where it could all go wrong, you know. It's looking good so far. There we are. Just going to carefully lift that up. There you go. So now we've got it out of the cake tin, looks really nice. Now what I'm going to do is take the base off, the metal base, and then we're going to slip it on the plate and dress it up with all that lovely fruit. Whoops, there we are. Just going to move that into view a little bit, just get it in the middle. Now since last night, what I thought I would do is make it into kind of like a Valentine's cheesecake. So I went out and bought some raspberries. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little heart shape. So just really, let me just get this right. I'm just going to put those along. I'm going to make this into like a little heart. Probably not the best heart you've ever seen. There we go, got a heart. Now I've also got me blackberries, and what I thought I would do is just really fill those in with the gaps all the way around. So I'm just going to carry on doing this all the way around. Now I think I'll just finish off with some more red ones in the middle, just to complete that little heart. Maybe it's not the best heart you've ever seen, but it's a heart. And I'm sure your loved one will appreciate it, all the effort you've gone to. So there we are. Looks pretty. I must admit that looks nice. Now you could just leave it like that. What I'm going to do is, with the raspberries that I've got left, I'm just going to kind of mince them up a little bit, add a little bit of water and a little bit of ice and sugar, and just make a little bit of syrup. I'm just going to, you know, just flow it in between the heart. So let's move this out of the way for a moment. And I think what I'll use, I think I'm going to use my blender actually. Just going to pop the remaining ones in. Like that. Just going to put a bit of ice and sugar in there, just to kind of sweeten it up a little bit. That'll do. Just going to add a little bit of water, not very much. And we're going to give that a quick blip. Get it all sort of blended up, make a little syrup. Pop that on there. That'll do. Lovely colour. Now, I'm then going to put just a small little bowl there. I'm going to put like my sieve. I'm just going to pour that in. Just work that through really. And what I did do is I was just using a spoon and squashing it, so we're sort of squeezing it in there. And you can see we've left all those pips behind. And all we're left with is a beautiful syrup. Oh, looks nice. I'm just going to bring the cheesecake back into view. There we go. Looks just as nice as it did a minute ago. Now really, I'm just going to just pour this syrup in between the raspberries really. I think I'll leave it like that. I've got a little bit left in case somebody wants a bit more. There you go. Really nice, simple cheesecake, no cooking, ideal for Valentine's Day. Now what you can do is when you've made it, if you're not going to serve it up straight away, put it in the fridge, keep it nice and cool, because obviously, you know, at the moment the sort of cheesy mixture is just set, but it's starting to warm up, and you know, these start to move a little bit. So if you put it back in the fridge, it would sort of hold it all together, so when you present it, it will be beautiful. Now it's almost a bit of a shame to cut into this and try it, but I always do that, a little bit of a taste test, so I'm going to have to get stuck in and try some. Now what I'm going to do is, rather than kind of destroy it, I still want to keep it really nice. I've done a little bit of a close-up shot. I'm just going to nick a little bit really. I want a bit of the biscuit base, and I'm going to nick this corner here. Let's just try that. Got a bit of everything there. Ooh, let me try it. That is really lovely. Tastes just like a lovely cheesecake, and haven't got to that syrup yet. Let me get a spoon. I'm just going to try it. A little bit of this syrup. See how that tastes. Oh, that's lovely with raspberries. That is absolutely, you got to make it. It's so simple. Happy Valentine's Day, and I hope you enjoy it. Now I'm going to put mine in the fridge. Later on, I've got a few guests coming over, so I'm going to serve it up, and hopefully everyone enjoys it. Just before I go, I'm going to cover this little hole up that they won't even know I've been here. Just going to slip a few of those in there. There you go, the hidden treasures. They won't know I've even touched it. So there we go, beautiful. Thanks again, the original Naked Chef.